So, hello everybody, and welcome to our June Dive In with Dom. Nice to see you all showing up here. I see a lot of familiar faces. Very good to see you again. And as we're gathering, as people are arriving, let's just a quick check. Is there anybody new here? Anybody here for the first time? Just wave your hand. Okay, yeah, a couple there. I see Martha and David. Hi, welcome. Oh, and there's Ava as well. Yeah, great. Very good. And anybody here who is completely new to inquiry, let's have a quick check-in on that. Or are we all, everybody here has some idea about inquiry? Okay, good, good. Nice to know. So welcome. Welcome to this Dive In with Dom. We're going to be exploring a topic that I have been very much looking forward to and very excited about getting to. So a few background things about Dive In with Dom first. As you know, this is a public session. So anybody is welcome and anybody may be here in the room. We are recording the session and our sessions are published to our YouTube page at Dive In Inquiry. That's the YouTube channel. So you're welcome to go and check out all the past recordings of our past several years of sessions. And in this session, we explore different nuances of the practice of inquiry. So it's really part of my work at raising awareness around inquiry, helping people to discover the practice, and looking into the ins and outs and the subtleties and nuances of it. So it is such an interesting and rich practice that there's so much one can explore about it. And as I say, we've been doing it for a couple of years and I don't see any end in sight. So in 2026, we have been working so far through the different layers of the inner world. So inquiry, as you know, is about exploring your inner world. It's about diving in an immediate way, getting in touch with your experience in a palpable, direct way, and then exploring what you find there. And when you do that, one of the things that you find is that your inner world has many different layers to it. Our experience has many different layers, right from our engagement in our life at the surface. So the things that are impacting us and bringing up thoughts and feelings and reactions and sensations from our life now. And as we explore inward, we find deeper and deeper layers to this inner world. And this year, we are kind of unpacking that perspective, looking at what are the different layers that show up. This evening, we're going to be addressing a very particular issue that really goes to why this perspective is so valuable or shows how powerful this understanding of the different layers can be. And that is that one of the things that can happen is that people mix up the different levels. So the different levels of our inner world get entangled in a certain way. And we try to address issues that pertain to one level at a different level. And that seldom works. So we're going to look a little more deeply at this phenomenon in today's session. And we're going to begin, as we usually do, with a short practice. So this practice is going to be a little different from anything that we've done before. And I'm going to walk you into a little check-in. And we're going to check in a way that I don't think we've done before. I don't know if it has been done before. We're going to check into the different layers of our inner world. So I invite you to find a comfortable position. So you're seated upright and relaxed. Take a nice deep breath and just invite yourself to land here. You've shown up for this session to do some exploration. And notice how you are just as you land. I want you to begin just sensing your body for a moment. Feel your feet and your legs. Feel your butt on the chair. And let yourself just notice landing here and settling. And so now we're going to feel into, let's say, one of the first layers of the inner world. So just feel your body as it is now, right? The things, the seat, the floor, the clothing, the actual sensations of your actual physicality. So take a moment to notice what of that comes into your awareness as you get in touch with yourself. Notice the sounds that are around you. These are things from the real world happening right now. So you're noticing all of that, being in touch with it as it's occurring. Now, you might see if there are situations from your life that are on your mind right now. Like you've just arrived here, whatever you've just come from, there might be something about that, thoughts about it, feelings about it. You might be thinking about what you need to do later on, right? Or feeling the satisfaction of the meal you just had, feeling irritated with the exchange you just had with someone, whatever it is. So remember your friendly interest and check in and notice what is here from your immediate life circumstances. So that's one level deeper into your inner world from just what is immediately touching you now. So you're feeling the feelings, noticing the thoughts, noticing how your consciousness is occupied by, things that are going on. And that may be present for you or it may not. We're just checking in to see. So if you don't find that hanging around for you, no problem. Now notice if there is anything a little deeper in. Is there some issue that you've been following for a while? Something with a deeper scope that is maybe bothering you or that you're curious about? Is there some pattern in your life that you're aware of that you've, been wondering about or working with? Maybe some long running thing, pattern or reaction or belief or idea, some sense of yourself that you've been aware of or are working with. Just see if there is anything like that around. There may not be. There doesn't have to be at all. We're just taking the time to check. So these so far are the more usual levels of experience, the things that tend to occupy us day to day. Now let's dive a little deeper. See, as you sense into yourself and as you're in touch with yourself and your feelings, if there is anything like your soul child around. Is there some young part of you? Is there a feeling or a reaction that has something young in it? And again, you don't have to go looking for something that isn't here. You just want to notice if it is. In this first glance, as you look within, do you recognize anything young around? And again, if you notice it, just notice it for now. We're just seeing what is present in the moment. And let's go deeper. So as you check in, as you're just noticing what's present in your inner world now, see if there is a feeling of something missing, of some kind of deficiency, of some kind of hole, maybe a feeling of like you no value or dissatisfaction, or feeling like you haven't really got what it takes. Might be a feeling like the world is a heartless place. There might be some kind of feeling that you're not happy and you can't seem to do anything about it. You feel an absence of enjoyment or fulfillment or pleasure or capacity or love or value. So, some way in which within your inner world, within your consciousness, there is some kind of this kind of deficiency, this kind of absence hanging around. And again, we're just noticing it. Just giving it space, going, oh, okay, yeah, there it is, something like that. And so now, let's go deeper still. As you're sitting there, is there possibly some experience of nothing? Some kind of space? Maybe it's a feeling of no thoughts. Maybe there actually aren't really any thoughts going on. Maybe it's a sense of no feeling. Like actually, when you try to identify what you're feeling, you're just not really feeling anything. Maybe when you sense into your body, like there's a part of it that, you just don't really sense much. Like I'm feeling my legs, and feeling my chest, my heart. And it doesn't seem like there's much there. Or I feel the space around me and it just has a feeling of being open, empty. So again, just noticing if by tuning into this level of inner space, if actually there is something like that around for you. And lastly, as you're sitting here, just checking into your inner world, see if there's some kind of presence, some kind of beingness. Maybe there is some kindness, some curiosity, a twinkle of joy, a feeling of contentment, sense of love, feeling of capacity, of solidity sitting here, a sparkle of intelligence in your mind. Maybe there is something like that. A feeling of the universe holding and being gentle. If you take the time to just look and see, to feel yourself, to sense, and to notice what's here, what do you notice in that direction? Is there anything here? And again, no issue if there isn't. If there is, it doesn't matter, right? We're just being open to see. Right. And so now take a breath. Take a nice deep breath and notice how it is. How is it to check in to all these different layers of your interiority? To actually take a moment to peek into each and see what you find there. Some may have something in them, some may not. Some may be present, some may not. There's no right or wrong. You're simply noticing what of any of these layers is active or present in your experience in the moment. And then again, sense your feet on the ground, your butt in the chair. Sense your arms and legs. Sensing your body. Sensing now. Add listening, consciously listening. And then when you're ready to, open your eyes and add conscious looking. Consciously looking. So you've sensed into your interiority all the way in, and now you're opening, including your environment and being present here. I wish I could hear from every one of you what you found. Right? I would love to hear that. And maybe what we'll do, kind of as a halfway, if you like, feel free to write something in the chat. Feel free to write something. Maybe even if you just mention like which levels were present, like, oh, there was something from my life and I noticed something and something young, and then some kind of deficiency, or this is something from my life, some kind of openness and presence, joy, some sort of joy. So if you want, if you feel moved to, okay, so we have some presence and deficiency. Someone noticed deficiency of strength, too much outside pressure. Uh-huh. Something ageless, all the levels, all the levels. Yeah, interesting. Hey, I noticed young pain and deficiency. Mm-hmm. Yes. Every level was there except presence, which was only slightly recognized. Right. So it's so interesting that all of these different levels, soul child, deficiency, and peace, yeah, right? Lack of strength. Mm-hmm. Right. So all levels, but some strong soul child energy. Oh, here we go. Here come a few. Young part, a little afraid, presence of joy, contentment, curiosity. Uh-huh. Bodied and deficiency. Uh-huh. Right. All levels. Can't read that, but varying. Yes, varying. Yeah, to notice different aspects. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to go on. Familiarity with my essence and hard to explain. Yeah, right. So it's a thing to recognize, actually, that all of these levels are naturally part of our inner world. They're naturally all there. And as we go about our life and we go about our inquiry, it's natural that, you know, all of them can get activated moment to moment in different ways. So we're used to looking at things, for example, in terms of the mind, the meanings, the feelings, and the sensations. But it's another kind of uh, another axis, if you like, another set of dimensions of the inner world to look at it in terms of immediate experience, immediate life, things from life, broader inner life, and then into the hidden depths of our formative conditioning, our soul child, those core senses of deficiency and disconnection, and then the open spaciousness, and eventually the pure beingness of presence itself. Right. So to actually allow that in any moment we could be anywhere in that, on that continuum, anywhere in that spectrum, in any one of those levels, and some or more of them or several of them can be present simultaneously. So there is, I think, a lot of value. What I'm suggesting, what I put to you, is that there is a lot of value in being clear about this in your inquiry. Because a lot of the time, what happens is that there are these different levels present and active in our experience, and it's not recognized. And this happens in various ways. And I want to give two particular examples, well, maybe three particular examples. So the first is fundamental to inquiry. You all do it all the time, right? So with inquiry, what do? We get affected by something in our life, some event or something going on, and then we have a reaction, and then we begin to inquire. We go, okay, hang on a minute. I'm going to stop trying to solve the situation out there, right? I'm going to stop trying to make them like me or make them whatever, right? And I'm going to dive into what it's bringing up in me. I'm going to turn to what's happening in my consciousness and try to see and feel and recognize and be in touch with and understand what's going on here, apart from running out there and trying to sort it out there. So the whole movement of inquiry is a movement to examine your inner experience. Where some people get stuck is they keep going back out to try and sort out the situation. What can I do about the situation? Oh, I need to sort out this thing with my boss or my partner or my child or my health, right? All these things I need to work with. And it's important to understand that it's not that there aren't things to work with there. Those are totally legitimate things to be contemplating what to do. What do I need to do? What am I going to do? That's all 100% valid. But what it isn't going to do is bring about any personal transformation and development. For that to happen, you actually need to go, okay, that's what's going on out there. I'm going to let the outer world be the outer world. And now I'm going to turn the eye around and look into my own experience and find out, like, what is this reaction I'm having? What beliefs or expectations do I have here? Right? What qualities of my presence are coming forward here? Or what disconnections and holes am I starting to feel? So there is a move towards going within to look into what is it bringing up in you. And that's where the work is. So we do our work there. And then oftentimes what we find is that changes how we experience the external situation. It doesn't mean it goes away. It's not that suddenly all your problems out there go away, but it may mean, for example, it is significant to see, oh, that's something is going on out there and it's making me feel worthless. And I know, oh, that worthlessness, that's a thing. So rather than trying to get them to value me, I'm going to look into this feeling of worthlessness to see if I can see, like, what's going on there? What is that experience? And what's happened to my sense of my value? Yeah. So the whole movement of inquiry is to be looking into your inner experience. And the first way, the big way, the biggest high level way that the different levels of our experience can get mixed up in inquiry is when we just focus externally. We just focus on the life situation. And I often will see people inquiring into something, looking into it, and halfway through the inquiry, it's like they're diving down into their inner world, and halfway through, they scurry back out and onto shore and go, okay, so what am I going to do with my XYZ now? Like, how am I going to fix that problem now? How is this helping me with that immediately? When actually what's needed is further inquiry. So there is a lack of clarity about the inner world and the outer world and their relationship. and how to actually go about inquiring and clarifying the inner world before you get to the question of what I'm going to do out there. So that's one big level. A second level that I want to mention that again, can happen, that comes up every now and again, is that when there is actually a real issue, for example, in your body with your health, right? Or a real problem that you do need to deal with, and people try to inquire their way out of it, or they try to resolve it with inquiry. So inquiry is not going to fix a medical problem. If there is something going on in your body that needs medical attention and treatment, you can inquire into it in the sense of looking at what it's bringing up for you, how you're responding to it. All of that is valid and legit. How it is to be with the pain or the difficulty or the realization that you're ill in a certain way or that you have something going on, that's all totally valid inquiry. Inquiry is not to try and resolve the medical thing. You're not going to inquire away, like, I don't know, whatever the symptom is. That's not a good use of inquiry, right? So there, what's happening is that the physical reality and your inner world are kind of, again, they're getting entangled and mixed up in a certain way that can be problematic. And it's good for us to be clear about. The one that I particularly wanted to mention, that I sort of got really excited about bringing, because I hear it so often, right, is what happens when we begin to recognize that the formative layer of our consciousness is getting activated. Right? So what is it that happens when your soul child, when you're in an experience, something is happening, and you start getting in touch with something young, right? Some young feeling within yourself, right? And that can be inner child in a very broad way. Soul child is, in the diamond approach, is actually quite a specific thing, but inner child in a very broad way, anything within your inner experience, your sense of yourself or of your feelings or reactions or thoughts that has that young feeling. Right? So that's the question, is what to do with that. And often I'll hear people say things like, well, my inner child just wants my boss to appreciate me, or just wants to feel safe at work, or my inner child just wants to be held by my partner. And what you can see happening there is that the inner child, which is really a part of your consciousness that is wrapped with an impression, an experience from your history, from your formative years, right? So there's a part of your consciousness that has taken in that impression and it's kind of stuck in there. And that is, people are looking at that as if that is relating to something going on in your life now. So the issue with that, if you really look closely at it, and if you kind of try to understand what is it that's going on here, right? What you will notice is it is true when let's say my boss, right, approaches me, I start to feel young. I start to feel young and scared, right? That can legitimately happen, right? That can be the experience. Or when my partner leaves me alone, I start to feel lonely and young and small and abandoned, right? So something like that can arise. And what's happening is that the current situation, the life situation now, is echoing to that early situation. And a word I don't like, but it kind of fits, is triggering it. Right? It's bringing it into your consciousness. It's making you feel that, because there is some similarity between what's going on now and what happened, when you were young, right? So that is the That is what's arising. And what people feel then, what they take it to mean is that my child wants something from out there. And this is fundamentally, if you really look at it, is not accurate. And in a sense, is a confusion of the levels. Because whatever it is making that inner child feel afraid or abandoned or lost or whatever it is that it's feeling, that happened when you were that age, right? That's when it happened. That's what left you with the impression of a scared 4-year-old or of a delighted 3-year-old or however that child feels, right? It's not something that is happening now. Something that's happening now might connect with it, but that actual child itself, that impression of that child itself, whatever is making it feel the way it feels, happened then, happened back when you were a child. So it's very powerful to understand this, because these young parts of us can have very intense, very strong feelings. And if we don't recognize that, it's easy to run with those feelings. And the next thing, you're demanding, everybody must value you or love you or tiptoe around you or treat you specially or do all kinds of things, as if that is going to save that child. But it doesn't. All it does is it means that that child is not triggered into your awareness in the same way, right? The impression of the child itself is completely unchanged, right? It's not touched by that. What is needed really is to see, to encounter, to inquire into, and to explore the experience of the inner child for what it is, right? To see, oh, there's some young part of me that's feeling this. Let me find out as I feel into it and explore into it, find out what's going on with this little me, like what made me feel like this. And from that, you will discover what in the actual situation, what from when you were that age, if it was one of your parents or the absence of one of your parents or some issue, or a sibling, a teacher, whatever it is, whatever it might be, you have the possibility of bringing that into consciousness, bringing that whole reaction, that whole impression into consciousness to see it for what it is. And that is deeply transformational. Right? That can really allow you to see what was going on, what made this part of you feel the way that it does. And here, as you allow what I often call the magic of inquiry, as you're present with that and you recognize that, oh, wow, look at that, this little kid, they were so mean to me and all I needed was a hug. Like really, it wasn't rocket science. I just needed somebody to kind of put their arm around me and say, hey, it's okay. Right. And it may be that as you recognize that and you see how crazy what was going on was, that you feel some kindness, some presence, some gentleness, something of your being responds to that child, responds to that situation. And that tends to allow the impression to relax. Right? And it relaxes, and at some point it dissolves. It literally relaxes away. Going through that process of really bringing it into the light, feeling the feelings, seeing what was going on, and allowing presence, beingness to really respond to what was going on there as you understand it and recognize it, that brings about transformation. That is a very deep kind of transformation. And it will bring out all different qualities of your consciousness, of your nature, including the qualities that have been wrapped up in that child. Right? So your presence gets liberated from the wrapper of that impression. But none of that can really happen if we continue trying to get the world, trying to manage the world and our experience in life as if our child is wanting something from out there, right? So that is another way in which these levels can get mixed up. So there are so many others. Of course, we try to find qualities of presence out there. We like try to fill our holes with things out there, our senses of deficiency. There are all kinds of ways that we do that. And in this series so far, we actually haven't yet gone into in depth what we mean by holes and deficiencies and presence. So that's all still coming. But for now, really what I am drawing your attention to is the way that, firstly, our inner world has these levels. Secondly, that it is valuable in your experience to try to be clear about, as I'm with what I'm with now, like, where is it coming from in those levels? What is it actually, what is it? Where is it coming from? And to watch out for mixing the levels up, right? That's something to just be aware of. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to look a little into this for yourself. And we're going to do that as we usually do. And we're going to get into groups of 3. And each person will have 5 minutes. And I just want you to, take the 5 minutes to just reflect on your experience here. Like, what is your experience of these different levels? And do you recognize ways in which they get entangled? You can use some of the examples that I've given. If you are not familiar with some of the levels, no problem. Then you can always just start with that very big one about trying to, being crisp and clear about your inner world and your outer world. So it can be as simple as that. Like, how clear are you about what you're exploring when you're exploring it? And I want to be very sort of clear that there's not to say that anything in this is right or wrong. All I'm inviting you to do is to bring a little extra clarity to see what's going on, right, in your experience, and to see if this lens is helpful. So 5 minutes each. If you don't want to do the exercise, and you really don't have to, if you don't want to do the exercise, please drop off now and come back in 20 minutes. Right? You can rejoin for the discussion in 20 minutes. If you do want to do the exercise, then stay on. Susan will put into breakout rooms of 3. You will each have 5 minutes. The people who are not doing the exercise are just silent witnesses. So you just sit there silently and let the person who's doing their exploration, let them simply explore. And then at the end, take a further 5 minutes to just discuss what you're finding. What are you learning about your inner world and about inquiry? See if there's anything you're picking up and clarifying. And then we'll be back here to continue. So I think we'll give you about 22, let's say, let's be back here at 25 We'll give you 25 minutes. So 5 minutes each, 5 minutes discussion. That's a total of 20 minutes. And then let's say 2 or 3 minutes to like bathroom break and to say hello and, all of that. And then we'll resume at 25 to the next hour. Did I get that math right? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I put 25 minutes in and it looks like we're good to go.
Lisa, you have your hand up. You want to ask a question quick?
Yeah, I was trying to write down what all the levels are, but I didn't get it all written down. Can we have it written, like what the levels are?
Oh, yeah, give me a sec. I'm going to write it just into chat. So let's see. So outer real life. I'll just say normal inner experience, right? So that just means the usual kinds of thoughts of feelings, urges, impulses, just normal inner life, right? And then young, formative inner child, and then holes and deficiencies and lacks, and then inner space and openness, and then presence. So, as I say, we haven't gone into all of these levels yet in this series, but some of you may know something about them. And if you do, cool. And if you don't, cool. Like, don't sweat about it. Just work with whatever you do know and be curious, see what you find. Okay, so there we go. And time for some sharing, discussion, further exploration. Very curious to hear what you found. So, we're doing some fairly new things here. It'd be nice. Love to hear whatever you have to share. So, Caroline, lead the way.
Thank you. Well, as I was sharing with my breakout room partners, as you were giving the lesson, Dom, or the talk, I was remembering a time when early on, I think I've been doing diamond work for about maybe 3 years. So it was early on in this. And my neighbor across the way has very small dogs, and she tends to like to let them run loose all over the place, which we live in a rural area with a lot of predators. And while they're her dogs and it's not my business, I found myself getting really angry about it. Whenever I saw her dogs running around, I would really react. I know you hate to use the word trigger, but it just really just felt like that. So I did an inquiry into that. And as I was inquiring, I got past my anger stuff and I started to feel very young. And all of a sudden I started to feel scared and unprotected. And it was it was kind of touching into experience of a real difficult childhood where we were not protected by the people who were supposed to be protecting us. And so I realized that that's what was going on. And so as you were talking today, I thought when I kind of saw her do it again, like a few days after this inquiry, I found that I wasn't going to go over and tell her anything because it was kind of useless anyway. I wasn't going to, but I found that I could watch her poor dogs running around this rural area, and it didn't inflame me. I felt calmer. I
Yes.
felt kind of more like with her, like thinking, boy, she's going to be really sad if a hawk swoops down and picks up that dog, because we have hawks in our neighborhood. But it wasn't this like rage that popped up for me. So
yes,
it struck me as you were talking that that's kind of what you were, maybe a little bit of what you were talking about.
yes.
And since then, I've gotten in touch with a lot more, and as I've been inquiring along, that is a particular deficiency for me. That when I see situations where somebody in a position of authority, let's just say, is supposed to be taking care of those less vulnerable, and they don't, either through just neglect or malignant stuff, that it's very, very just like, whew, it just floats me right off. So I guess my question to you is, so each time I inquire into these situations as they come up, so you're talking about that kind of gets digested, like sort of little by little by little by little by little. And so that's kind of the process.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so a couple of big things that you said there. So this beautiful example, right? So thank you for sharing that. Really good example. And of course, in the usually we sort of start off at the surface, and that's often all we're aware of, and we think that's the whole truth. And as you saw, as we dive into that experience and we inquire, the inquiry will unfold deeper and deeper. And so we'll begin to see that underpinning that surface experience, in fact, are all these different layers. And we can swim through each of the layers. And as each layer opens up, we kind of meet it on its own terms and work with it. Like when we find that young historical place, we work with that on its own terms. And then we can find out, well, what's the deficiency in it, just like you were saying, and what's the quality of presence that can then emerge. And that then totally changes how we experience things on the surface. And just as, you're saying, it's not like the surface situation has gone away. The hawks are still there, right? That's still a thing, but it's not triggering you in quite the same way. So that's really exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. What happens, so that particular kind of thing got digested. There might be something about it. But what you'll find, as you say, there are other things that will still like set off that trigger, set off a reaction. And part of the whole knack and art of it is then to be open to finding out, well, what is it that's setting it off this time? Because probably when you really look into it, if you explore into the reaction and then you explore into exactly what is it that's really making this happen, and you keep going and you explore into even the presence that might arise, you may find it's different. Right. So on the one hand, you could say, oh, I have this issue with like vulnerability and protection, and I'm just going to keep going through that reaction over and over and over again, and little by little digest it. It's not, that's what it can look like. But the more precise you get about it as you're exploring it, and you might notice that, well, the first time it brought up this kind of particular feeling in you, and that's what made you react. And the second time, well, actually, it's slightly different. Like maybe this time it was more my love that felt threatened, or this time it was my freedom that felt threatened, or this time it felt like the protection needed to be a caring protection, or this time it felt like the protection needed to be a strong protection, that what I needed as that little kid was someone strong. Or this time, what I needed was somebody who was open and inviting me and making me feel safe. So if we don't just assume it's the same, right? If we can just say, okay, this is coming up. I don't know why it's coming up, but it's coming up for a reason. Let me feel into it and discover what I can about it. You may find that there are different qualities, different things unfolding all the time. And so, and that it's a whole journey. So you might find, you could go through the whole journey, or let's say whole years of your journey that you seem to be processing through this lens of protection. But the more you look at it, the more you understand that actually the specifics, the details of it are all different. And there's a whole rich process happening there.
Oh, wow. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. It makes total sense to me. Yeah. Wonderful.
Good. You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much,
Thanks for
Tom.
the question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great question. And then we have Che.
Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Che. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. God, your talk was simply just beautiful for me. The imageries that it brought up for me, because as you were taking us through the depths, I mean, it really felt like a litmus strip where I could just feel, and it feels like the first one was much more opaque, but then as it kept going down, it just get more boundless and clear, where it's almost like there's just nothing there. So just that, yeah, it's like I could see the whole teaching just in this, this example that you gave. Right. I was very interested in coming to this talk today because you're saying not to mix up the levels with a certain medical condition. And I am going through something which I guess for the next 5 years, I'm every 3 months, my blood tests and also my CT scans. And so my balance right now is, I mean, I'm definitely not trying to zen it out. I am taking my medications and all that. But every time my blood test comes back or the CT scan, it's the external numbers and and I'm in this balance of feeling whatever the feelings, but not indulging in it or activating it. And it's a very nuanced, like sometimes I'm like, oh, am I denying the feelings or am I just percolating in the feelings? You know what I mean? It's very confronting, but it's also thrilling, that challenge, because it is my reality.
Right. Yes.
I don't know if there's a
Very.
question in that, but yeah, somehow this
Yeah.
mixing of levels.
Well, I think you're pointing to something very important. So, so there is, as you say, like there's kind of the particulars, like the particular numbers, the test results you get at at each point. And at
Yeah.
any point when you get those results, they will impact you however they do. They could bring up like 1 month, maybe there's no reaction. You just kind of see it and you're like, oh, okay, that's is what it is. Another day, another time, maybe it brings up like it's looking good and that brings up some kind of joy. And another day, maybe it brings up fear or frustration or anger.
Yeah.
And the point is to allow and to be with whatever that is. And then we can inquire into it. You can go, wow. So right now, this time around, it's made me so scared, or it's made me so frustrated, or whatever it's bringing up, and to say, okay, let me see. That's what's happening here. What is it bringing up in me? What is the part of me that's getting activated here, that's responding, and how come? What's making that happen? And that way, it's always just going to be a doorway. So you're either be meeting the situation with some kind of presence, whatever that might be, right? Like compassion because it's difficult, or solidity, or openness, whatever. Or if there's some kind of reactivity or difficulty, then you can inquire, right? You can explore into whatever it is that's getting triggered. And that's so valid, so important, right?
Yeah.
To really let yourself work with whatever it is that it's bringing up for you.
But there is this, I'm really knowing the external factor, because sometimes I feel like I allow too much fear, or I allow even too much relief. Like, oh, the test is good. And so I'm like, huh. I mean, which is fine. But I can see myself being kind of jerked around by like, oh yes, oh no, oh yes, oh And I've come to a place where it's almost, like I don't want to be so jerked around by it. You know what I mean? It's just something that I'm playing with, because I get to have that external,
Yes.
stuff coming up for me. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you feeling? What are you in touch with right now as you talk about it? Like as you say, I don't want to get jerked around so much. What are you feeling?
Well, I think the talk and me just even bringing this up, it feels like it just is opening up a certain reality and the work. So, it just feels like a open doorway. Yeah. So it's
Okay,
not
so
like I'm just living with the physical of this medical condition. And it's not just, it seems like they're both involved. They're both, it feels like an open field where they're both here. It's,
yeah.
And there's a mixing that feels very kind of full and grounded right now.
Right. Okay. So just describe that a little more. What's the full and groundedness feel like? How do you experience that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if this is a feeling, but I'm house sitting for a friend here in Marin, and right behind her house is this beautiful hill. It's called Horse Hill because there's actually horses grazing on it. And she took me on there once last week. And so, yeah, it's just this open grazing. There's no fencing, and there's just yeah, there's something about the hill versus just being flat. And I'm looking at part of it right now, and it's just just round and full, and there's a gentleness and to the reality of it all, just I'm sitting,
Right.
and reality of my medical stuff, of this, it's just
Yes.
everything seems to have like an equal value. It's not like, oh my God, the medical condition, or just, you know what I mean? There's this
Mm-hmm.
lovely mixing of
Mm.
like one big stew.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. And something about a kind of fullness and roundness and
Yeah,
openness, right? You
yeah,
can see it in the hill, you can feel the gesture of it. You might notice if you sense something like that in your body, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And just like your example of taking us through that litmus thing, because it was like everything from sensing just, your clothes sitting here to all the different levels that you took us in. It's all on the
Mhm.
same dimension. It's all
Right.
here
Uh-huh.
together.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, I don't want to take up more. Thank
Very
you.
interesting. Good. Sit with that, Jay. It sounds very good to me. Yeah, lovely. Sounds like it gives you a very good way then of being with all of that, all of those things. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. So, Rick, next. Rick, you're still on mute there.
Yeah, so
There you go.
I have two questions basically.
Yeah.
I signed up because I read something about inner child in the email that you sent out, and I've been working with that a lot this year.
Mm.
And most of the time, what I find is not deficiency. What I find is unmet needs.
Yes.
And so I'm wondering, is there some kind of relationship between unmet needs and
Mm-hmm.
deficiencies?
Mm-hmm.
The first
Yeah.
question.
What do you see? What do you see?
Well, a need experientially does feel like something is missing.
Yeah.
So in
Right.
that sense, I could say, yeah, it's
Mm.
linked to a deficiency maybe, or it's coming out of it's like a reaction to a deficiency maybe, or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Yes. So sounds like so there's a need for something that perhaps this young, the young part of you feels, and deficiency we can feel either within ourselves, like, oh, I haven't got it, but or we can feel like I need it from someone and it's not forthcoming, right? I'm not getting it. So there's
Yeah.
something that I need, and the need is not being met. So you're right. They're closely related. They're not exactly the same thing. And they kind of the one points to the other. So the deficiency is feeling, well, there's no support or there's no, and the need is feeling like, oh, it's almost a layer in, right? Because it's one thing to feel there's no support at all. It's another thing to feel, and I really need it. Like I need it. There's something that I need here.
Mhm.
So it's kind of going even a little deeper into the territory to allow ourselves
Like,
feel the wanting and the need.
yeah, like it's more charged or something.
Mm-hmm. Can be, yeah, can be,
Yeah,
can be.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. So more you can follow it from the need, from the deficiency, kind of into the need, to feel the need, and to make space for the needy part of you. Like so a lot of times we don't want to feel that, right? Don't want to feel needy or like I need something from the outside. So then you have to look at all of that, like bring that up.
Yeah, and also it brings up a lot of judgment because society doesn't like neediness.
Yes, right.
People
Right.
get
And
rejected when they're needy.
exactly. and the key thing to remember with all of these things, so there you go. That's actually a great example of another mixing up of the levels. So society out there doesn't like neediness. Okay, society doesn't like neediness. That's fine. We're just talking about letting yourself feel a need, right? Or feel needy, or feel a needy young part of you, right? It's got nothing to do with society or what anybody else thinks, or even getting it met, right? It's just about letting yourself experience the need itself, right? And just without knowing where it might or might not come from. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the tricky thing to feel, but that is really opening up to the part of us that can then actually feel the presence. Right. So that's a very important kind of little place there.
And that brings me to the second question. Most of the time when I stay with the need, when I'm present with the need, because I did a lot of meditation, so presence is very, I don't know, accessible or available in me. Most of the time, presence will manifest some quality that responds to what the need is.
Yes.
And most of the time, then the part of me that has that need just immediately relaxes, like you said.
That's it.
But I notice that it doesn't mean that the need goes away permanently, also, like you said. And I've done a lot of inquiry, and I've come to a point where I'm thinking how much more inquiry can I do? I mean, I've looked at this from every angle, on every level. There are things that I've been inquiring into for more than a decade. And so I talked to I talked to a diamond approach teacher about this that I sometimes work with, and she said that at some point you just have to let it go. So I was like, okay, maybe that is the answer. But then I also heard Sandra Maitri, I think, say something like, yeah, but it takes a lot of time for our soul to really trust the process, to really trust, to really get used to, in a sense, that this quality is really there whenever it is needed. So it just takes time and a lot of repeated experience for this part to relax. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
mean,
wondering,
yeah.
how
If you
about
think
that?
about it, like when we get to formative conditioning, so that laid down a whole lot of, think of it in terms of brain science, like neural networks, right, around having experienced things a certain way. And like that was laid down as formative experience repeatedly over and over for years, right? So in our inquiry, we're basically you're basically restructuring those neural networks. You're kind of reorienting and rerouting them. And it's not like you do it once and then it's done, right? I mean, that's just the truth of it, that some of these things, it's true that you go through them over and over and over again. And never mind 10 years, it might be 25 or 30 years, right? Before certain things like really, but the point is, where I think so that's true, right? Certain parts of our structure hang around for especially if we have traumatic or difficult early history, right? They hang around for a very, very long time. That's just the bottom line of it.
That's what I was working with.
Yeah. So I think it's good to just be straight about that. That is the case, right? And I can say this also from my own personal experience, that nevertheless, there is a lot that unfolds and transforms over the years as the inquiry deepens and continues, right? And the way that you inquire into something and the way that it's kind of coming up and the level of your consciousness that's being metabolized after 20 years or 25 years is different than it is after 5 years or 10 years or, whatever. And I see that both, I mean, in my own experience and in the cohort of, students in my own group. So, group's been going nearly 30 years. So you get a perspective on how people's process unfolds over a very long period of time. So there is an ongoing deepening and unfolding that happens. And at the end of the day, you're just being in touch with the truth of your experience and being present with it. I mean, if you don't think about it in terms of getting somewhere but just being real with yourself and being with what's actually present for you, you just, in a certain sense, keep doing that. And like I said to Caroline, it's like, the more you do that, the more you see that even though it looks similar, even though there are elements that are the same, also every year, every time, there are things that are different, right? It's bringing forth different qualities of your nature, different realizations and growth. So I don't know about sometimes you just let it go. I don't know about that. I guess sometimes it just lets go. That happens. But I don't know if you can decide to let it go. I do think that you can just be where you are and, be with it and let it work you in whatever way it does.
Yeah, I was also asking about that because I know that in a lot of meditation, traditional meditation groups, they talk about that a lot, about let it go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Those
And
are
I'm
more
always thinking that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. That's a kind of more transcendent kind of approach. And, it may be that, I mean, I do think it's true that at some point you can recognize, well, this is just a part of my soul that's just been patterned the way it has. And maybe it's just very difficult, So I give you, you just have to find out for yourself what's really true for you, But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't see that journey necessarily has to have an end. And I can see that for some people, you might at some point go, well, okay, maybe this is just enough. So that really is something that only you can really decide.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. I think that's what I could say it in brief about this. I mean, there's a lot one can talk about this topic, but
yeah,
in brief. Okay. Thank you for thanks for the question. Deep questions, these. So that brings us to the end tonight. Really enjoyed being with you all again. And we'll get the recording posted in a couple of weeks, I guess. Two things I want to mention before we go. One is that next week's Dive In with Dom, not next week, next month, July's Dive In with Dom, we're going to do something totally different that we haven't never done before. We're doing a sort of Ask Me Anything session, right? So this is a session where you can bring any question, anything to do with inquiry, the inner world, anything you ever wanted to know or ask, but were afraid to, right? Whether it's from a simple, the simple, stupid question that you were too embarrassed to ask, or the deep theoretical thing. I don't mind, whatever it is. Feel free to bring it along and let's have a lively session and discussion looking at whatever is of interest to you. It might be some topic you want addressed or anything really. So it's an Ask Me Anything session. I would invite you to, give some thought to what you'd like to ask. If you know people who you think would be interested in the session and might themselves have things they'd like to ask, please invite them along. And let's have a discussion. Let's talk all things inquiry and see what we discover. So that's going to be July's session, and then after that we will continue working through the different layers of the inner world. So will that be recorded? Yes, it will. It will all be recorded, as long as people bring some questions. No questions, no recording. All right. Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you. Thank you for your interest in your nature and in the truth.
Yeah.
And until next time, I wish you well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dom, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.